My mother said to me when I said I brought this girl home, I want to marry her, she said, is she a woman of tomorrow's ideas and yesterday's values? And this is what we're looking for. This is what we're looking for in currency systems. This is what you and I are looking for as we navigate a world in transition. Grüezi miteinander. I want to dedicate these brief remarks to the people of Switzerland, to St. Fridolin, who's the patron saint of Glarus, which is my Heimatort. They left in 1743. Jakob Darst, he went to the United States, one of the first wave. I want to dedicate to my wife and daughter. Our daughter was born here in the Pflegerinnenschule when it was on Carmenstrasse. And my wife danced here at the Zurich Opernhaus Ballet. She also had a doctorate in European history. Her thesis, Tobias, was on Napoleon. It was 611 pages, and I typed every page. I said to her, we're married, can we go upstairs to the bedroom? She said, no, type 10 more pages, and we will see about later. I want to dedicate today to Ivan Adamovich and Robert Scherer, who are my dear friends and close colleagues. There's another person, but I will get to him in a moment. And finally, to the students of the University of Zurich, who we will be speaking with this evening, and there will be no time limit on them. So we're going to go all night, Tobias. We're going to go all night. Now, how do we go to the next slide? Me? This? With this?
Yes, over here, as you like.
I try it with you. Okay, thank you. This one?
Yes.
Okay, the big stories shaping our world. The last 4 centuries, we've had abolitions. Now, that's Abschaffung, correct? The abolitions of kings and queens. Louis XVI was assassinated. It was with a guillotine on January 21st, 1793. The 1800s were the abolition of slavery and serfdom. 1833 was the British Empire. We had Brazil, we had the United States, we had Russia, we had France. The 1900s were the abolition, the Abfassung of fascism and totalitarianism. It's not completely wiped out. You still have dictators and fascism, forms of totalitarianism. And the 2000s, so we're only 1/4 of the way through this century. 2025, 2026, 1/4. This century will be, did I do that?
Yes.
This will be about the abolition of the oppression and the abuse and the mistreatment of women in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. She won the Nobel Prize, the youngest winner ever, Malala Yousafzai, okay, the Pakistani girl, in 2014 at age 17. She said no more. Margaret Thatcher, we talked about currency regimes. Margaret Thatcher said no more. Ronald Reagan said no more, okay? Paul Volcker said no more. That's what we need today. And thank God for Switzerland. Okay, that is a currency and a country of safety, stability, strength, and holding on to values. My mother said to me when I said I brought this girl home, I want to marry her, she said, is she a woman of tomorrow's ideas and yesterday's values? And this is what we're looking for. This is what we're looking for in currency systems. This is what you and I are looking for as we navigate a world in transition. And what do we need to navigate a world in transition? Tobias has really laid it out very, very clearly here. We need a few things. Number one, we need adaptive intelligence. We cannot have fixed ideas anymore. We can have fixed values, but we cannot have fixed ideas. We need emotional equilibrium. Look at the last few weeks. Look at the last year. Look at the news that we're getting every day. This crazy stuff. We need emotional equilibrium inside ourselves. We need intellectual humility. We need to know what we don't know. Look, I'm an investment strategist. I know that everything I say to you today, 40% of it is wrong. Maybe 30, but 40% of it is wrong. Yours is only about 10% wrong, okay? We need decisiveness under uncertainty. George Soros, you can like him, you cannot like him. George Soros is going to make a bet against the British pound in 1992. His hedge fund was $3 billion then. That was a lot of money, okay? $3 billion. Scott Bessent, who's now the currency secretary, and Stanley Druckenmiller went to him and said, we want to bet against the British pound. And he said, how much? He said, $1 billion. They had $3 billion in the hedge fund, 1/3 of the hedge fund to bet against the British pound. He said, how much do you believe this? They said, we believe this as sure as God made little green apples. He said, okay, then we're going to make it $8 billion. We're going to borrow $5 more billion and make it $8 billion. And George Soros said, this is this thing about decisiveness under uncertainty. It's not whether you are right or wrong. It's what you do in consequence of being right. That is the success. And we need this in currency systems. We need this in navigating today's world. We need psychological and emotional resilience. We're not here to talk to you about finance and investment. We're here to talk to you about inside here, because this is going to determine whether you survive or whether you expire, whether you lose. You need curiosity and cross-disciplinary thinking. And this is what you brought to us this morning. Curiosity and cross-disciplinary thinking. We need moral clarity. We need to know what we stand for. I love Switzerland because Switzerland knows what it stands for. Does everybody in this room agree with everything that Switzerland wants to do, needs to do? No. That's what a democracy is. We need narrative awareness. Narrative awareness. Where are we in this grossen Geschichte? Where are we in this big history? And we need selective boldness. We need to know when we are right, then we need to act on it. Oh, Isaac Newton. Anybody ever heard of Isaac Newton? Okay. Isaac Newton, and by the way, in this room, ladies and gentlemen, is a man of his equivalent intelligence. I'm not going to say his name, but he is a man, and you know who he is. He is a man of Isaac Newton's equivalent intelligence. Isaac Newton, he got involved. Look here. Newton invested a little bit in this South Sea bubble. He got out here. His friends got rich. And that's one of the big drivers of you and me investing. Our friend gets rich. We got to get involved too. And then it goes up and it crashes. He only held on for 9 months out of 3 years. This swing up and down in 9 months out of 3 years. He wrote, and Newton came up with the 3 modes of motion. You know what they are. Number 1 is inertia. Something that stays still stays still. Number 2 is force equals mass times acceleration. And number 3, every force has an equal and opposite opposing force. Those are the things. He was a little bit weird. Okay, he had some crazy religious ideas. He was somewhat of a mystic, but this man was so brilliant. And if he wrote, I can calculate the motions of the heavenly bodies, but I cannot understand the madness of people. This is if the smartest guy And one of the top 5 smart guys is in this room right now. Complex personality. You're going to love this. Alexander Pope, he's a British poet. They said, your job to write the epitaph. You know what that is, the epitaph on his gravestone, on his grabstein. He said, Isaac Newton, now the first words of the Bible in Latin are fiat lux, let there be light. That's the first words of the Bible in Latin, fiat lux. So Alexander Pope wrote, nature and nature's secrets were hid in night. God said, let Newton be, and all was light. Isn't that beautiful? It's amazing. The stages of a bubble, displacement, the new ideas. This is this whole artificial intelligence thing. Look, artificial intelligence. Okay, NVIDIA, all the way up. Where are we now? And look, this is not just stocks and bonds and currencies and gold. This is also this is real estate. This is art. This is celebrities. What's her name? Taylor Swift. Okay? Where is she on this bubble right now? Where's Taylor Swift? You know she's near a peak. I'm telling you, love her, but she's near a peak. And collapse, be aware that this thing here is not in equal sections. It may look like it's in equal sections. Now, these are the big stories shaping our lives. We have no time to go through all of them. The fall of the Berlin Wall, November 9th, 1989. September 11th, 2001, the World Trade Center attacks. So see, these things are changing us. And there are 4 here. Listen to this. So we had the first case of COVID, first confirmed case in the United States, 2020. Then we have the Fed printing more money, And then we have last year, 2022, ChatGPT, okay? This is artificial intelligence, and that is big. I did not add these dates. They should go here. They should go here. Are you ready for these dates? June 22nd, last year, June 22nd, Operation Midnight Hammer. That's all those bombs on Iran last year. January 3rd, Nicolas Maduro went to sleep thinking he was going to wake up in Venezuela. No. And then February 28th is this initial, I don't know how to describe this, Operation Epic Fury. Who comes up with these names? This is, I think, the most important slide, because everything, real estate in Zurich, art, gold, NVIDIA stock, everything is driven by fundamentals, by valuation, and by psychology. And at the major turning points, when you can make a fortune, psychology is 60% of the driver, not fundamentals and valuation. Everybody's giving up, they're despairing. And at the top of a market, okay, this is the .com, this is the housing market, okay, in the United States. At the top, again, psychology. And why do we talk about gold? Why do Robert Sherry and I talk about gold? We've been talking about gold for 50 years. And everybody said, you're so stupid with the gold. The gold is not going to create this. It's not going to cure cancer. It's not going to create the internet. It's not going to create airplanes. It's not going to create outer space exploration. But gold is going to keep you from jumping out the window when you're most depressed, because you have something that's winning. Gold is a psychological asset. It is not a capital asset. A capital asset is driven by capital flows and the discounting of them by an interest rate. Then there's supply-demand assets. Wheat, oil, okay? That's supply-demand assets. And then there's store-of-value assets. A painting, Salvator Mundi, okay, by Michelangelo, okay? A painting. Is it really worth that? It's what somebody said it's worth that. And same with gold. Gold is a store of value asset. The only reason to have gold, and gold should be part of the monetary system, and it's going to be part of the monetary system. Here, look at this. How's our time? How many more minutes? 5 more minutes. I'm exhausted. I'm going to take a sleep. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm exhausted. Look at these empires. And look, Switzerland, the family is reasonably strong here. The education is reasonably strong here. This is not a competition of countries between the open hearth of the steel mill or the computer chip. It is a competition between reading and writing to your children. This is where the destiny of nations is. And so far, it's still pretty strong here in Switzerland. And we go up through here. And so we can spend all day on this slide, but we go here now. Look here. Over the left is the Netherlands. In the middle is Great Britain. And on the right is the United States, kind of peeking out, and China coming up. These are the empires. Is it time? Tobias said, not yet for China, and I think we must listen to him. There's an article. This article here was written by Scott Bessent. He was my student at Yale, the Treasury Secretary. And I marked it up as if it was still a student paper and sent it to him. And if you want this, you tell the foundation. They can get this article for you. And basically, he says that the Federal Reserve, got into overuse of unconventional monetary policy tools, quantitative easing, too much. They got into balance sheet too big, okay, printing money. And finally, they've got into mission creep. That's where they decide they're going to solve all the racial problems, or they're going to solve immigration. That's not the job of the central bank. The central bank is to preserve the purchasing power of money and keep employment. And I think you're going to see Kevin Warsh limit the scope of the Fed if and when he gets confirmed. Now look here. It's hard to see this, but over there is gold as a percentage of central bank reserves. And look, it started to come down in 1999, and it went way down, and treasuries went up. Now gold has come back up, and it's above treasuries. The total amount of gold mined in history is only 7 billion ounces. 16% of it is held by Chinese private citizens. Switzerland is 80% in the city, 20% auf dem Land. Okay? That's the same as Japan, the same as the United States. In China, it's 50-50. 50% of the people live on the country, people live in the city. And guess what it is in India? 27% in the city, 73% still live in the country, and gold is their bank. And that's why 16% of the 7 billion ounces of gold mined are in the hands of Indian private citizens, and another 9% are in the hands of the 50% of Chinese who still live in the country. We could spend all day on gold. 7 billion ounces, 45% of it is in the form of jewelry. You understand? That means it's where it should be, on women. Except in Los Angeles, California, where it's on men also. Okay? 20% 23% is in bars and coins. 18% is held by central banks. That's this part that's come back up. And look, there's one central bank that sold 60% of their gold at $500 an ounce. I'm not going to tell you which bank it was. There's another central bank that's near that same central bank. It's not the same one, but they sold 55% of theirs at an average price of $275. 2 minutes. Tais-toi. 10 Ds of the present age. David Darst, DD. 10 Ds of the present age. And I would say here, disruption. Look here. Retail, that's Amazon. Lodging, that's Airbnb. Co-working space, that's WeWork. Ride sharing, that's Uber and Lyft. Fashion, that's Uniqlo and Inditex. Encyclopedia, that's Wikipedia. There's been unbelievable disruption. There's discord. What's wrong with this world? We have no anchor. We used to have the community. We used to have the family, and we used to have religion. It still exists here in Switzerland. Don't let this go down. This is your strength and currency. And there's a devaluation of time. There's a devaluation of interpersonal relationships. There's a devaluation of being alone. And there's a devaluation of spirituality. Why? This is the enemy. This is the enemy. You have got to keep it controlled and keep it away from the kids. If we could make a world rule that these have to be turned off every night at 9 o'clock, we would not have a population problem. Yeah? Okay, last one. 10 lessons of the Odyssey. How we doing? Pretty good? 1 minute. 10 lessons of the Odyssey. Are you ready for this? Because we're talking about navigation of a world in transition. That's the title of today. And this man, after the Trojan War, he was there in Troy for 10 years, and he then took him 10 years to get home. He is the man, Odysseus is the man that created the wooden horse. He is the master trickster, the master. Where is it? Oh. See that? See that book? That's the Odyssey. There's the Odyssey. I've read every word. It's the first translation ever by a woman. She's at the University of Pennsylvania. I sent it to her. She's written me back. Can't believe that I've marked it up like this. Why did I do this? Because my 15-year-old granddaughter is reading this in high school. And all of you parents and grandparents, read the things that your children are reading. It's a bond. I read somewhere that parents don't talk to their children for more than 40 minutes a day, and 3/4 of that 30 minutes is correcting them. I wanted to have a real conversation with my granddaughter. And we've gone through this book together. Now, there's a woman there whose daughter is older than my granddaughter. And this year, the school year, they started out reading the Odyssey comic book. The Odyssey comic book. And she said, my daughter, who's older than your granddaughter, she didn't read this stupid comic book one. She read the real one. I didn't. Now, the teacher started this year after summer vacation as a transition to start them on the comic book version. And then we switched to the real one. But like Odysseus, I have not told the other mother. She still thinks we're reading the comic book version. Thank you, everybody.